Starting at level 1, we have psychic awareness and mind reading. Vecna's most fundamental power is heightened psychic awareness, an ability that allows him to perceive thoughts, emotions, and intentions without direct communication. Unlike normal intuition or empathy, this is an invasive mental process where thoughts are received clearly and involuntarily from others. As a child, Henry Creel demonstrates this power by hearing his mother's thoughts before he speaks. This confirms that his mind is not just sensitive but actively tuned to the mental signals of people around him. He doesn't need proximity, permission, or concentration to access this information. The thoughts arrive automatically, suggesting a constant psychic connection rather than an activated skill. Picture young Henry sitting at the dinner table, watching his father's lips move while simultaneously hearing his mother's unspoken concerns about her son's strange behavior. It's not a gift, it's a curse that isolates him from normal human interaction. Every conversation becomes a layered experience where spoken words compete with the brutal honesty of unfiltered thoughts. This power gives Vecna a critical advantage in every interaction. By knowing what someone is thinking, he can anticipate actions before they happen. Fear, guilt, anger, and intent are all exposed to him in real time. This isn't mind control yet. At this stage, he cannot change thoughts or behavior. He can only observe them, like having access to everyone's internal monologue without their consent. The psychological impact on Henry is devastating. Imagine being a child and discovering that adults lie constantly, that their kind words mask cruel judgments, that their smiles hide disgust or fear. This early exposure to humanity's hidden thoughts shapes Henry's worldview, convincing him that people are fundamentally dishonest and that their surface emotions are meaningless performances. Psychic awareness becomes the foundation for all of Vecna's later abilities. It allows him to identify emotional weaknesses, internal conflicts, and hidden trauma with surgical precision. These mental vulnerabilities become targets in later stages of his power development, giving him an encyclopedia of human psychology to exploit. Moving up to level 2, we encounter illusions and mind projections. At this stage, Vecna's abilities progress from passive awareness to active mental influence. Instead of only receiving thoughts, he gains the ability to project images, sounds, and environments directly into another person's mind. These projections aren't hallucinations caused by illness or drugs. They are externally imposed psychic constructs created and controlled by Vecna. This power allows him to generate fully immersive visions, where the person experiencing them doesn't merely see images, but perceives an entire reality layered over the real world. Time perception inside these visions can also be altered, making moments feel extended or distorted. The victim's brain treats the experience as real, responding with genuine emotional and physical reactions. Heart rate increases, adrenaline flows, and the body prepares for fight or flight, all in response to something that exists only in the mind. An early example of this ability is when Henry creates a detailed vision for Patty Newby. In this instance, the illusion isn't used for harm. He constructs a positive environment where she is admired and applauded, demonstrating that the power itself is neutral and shaped by intent. The complexity of this vision shows that Vecna can design environments with emotional specificity, not just random images. As the power develops, these projections become darker and more invasive. Vecna begins blending illusions with a victim's personal memories, amplifying existing trauma, regret, and guilt, then reshaping them into living mental environments. This makes the illusion more convincing and far harder to resist, because the victim recognizes the emotions as their own. The void is a specialized application of this power, a psychic observation and projection space where Vecna can isolate consciousness from the physical body. Inside the void, normal sensory input is shut off, allowing Vecna to communicate, observe, or manipulate without physical interference. This space isn't a location in the real world, but a controlled mental construct where Vecna has absolute authority. At this level, Vecna still cannot directly control a person's actions. The victim retains free will, but their perception of reality is compromised. Fear responses, panic, and emotional overload make rational decision-making extremely difficult. This is how Vecna weakens resistance without physical contact, turning the mind into its own prison. Advancing to level 3, we reach telekinesis. At this stage, Vecna's powers extend beyond the mind and begin to affect the physical world directly. Telekinesis allows him to move, restrain, or damage objects and living beings without physical contact. This isn't a secondary skill layered on top of his psychic abilities. It's a direct expression of them, where mental force is converted into physical action. Early signs of this power appear when animals are found motionless around Hawkins. These occurrences aren't caused by weapons or physical struggle. Instead, they show internal trauma consistent with crushing force applied from the inside out. This indicates that Vecna can exert precise pressure on living organisms, targeting specific parts of the body without touching them. As the ability strengthens, Vecna demonstrates control over larger objects and people. He can lift bodies off the ground, suspend them in midair, and hold them there with sustained force. This requires continuous concentration, suggesting that telekinesis is not a simple impulse, but an actively maintained exertion of power. During moments of emotional instability or stress, this power becomes less controlled but more destructive. When Henry is pushed beyond his limits at the Hawkins lab, his telekinesis manifests violently. Guards are attacked not through calculated movement but through explosive releases of force. This shows that emotion amplifies the power, increasing raw output at the cost of precision. The telekinetic force can be shaped and directed with incredible accuracy. Vecna can apply pressure to specific bones, organs, or body parts, making his attacks surgical in their precision. He can crush a person's eyes while leaving the rest of their face untouched, or snap limbs at exact joint locations. This level of control suggests an intimate understanding of human anatomy, combined with the ability to manipulate force at a microscopic level. Telekinesis also allows Vecna to restrain victims completely. Once immobilized, a person cannot escape physically, making resistance nearly impossible. This restraint is often paired with his illusion-based abilities, trapping victims both mentally and physically at the same time. At this stage, Vecna still relies on proximity or focused attention to apply telekinetic force effectively. He cannot yet affect entire environments or large areas at once. The power is strong but localized, operating within a limited range and scope. Escalating to level 4, we encounter psychic violence and lethal force. At this stage, Vecna's telekinesis evolves into deliberate, lethal psychic attacks. He can intentionally incapacitate or kill by applying precise psychic pressure, making the process structured, repeatable, and methodical. This is demonstrated when he uses sustained force on his mother, Virginia Creel, and sister, Alice, to stop vital functions and inflict severe internal trauma. Victims cannot resist because the attack originates inside their own bodies. There's no external force to fight against, no weapon to deflect. The assault comes from within, making defense impossible. The signature of Vecna's kills becomes his calling card: eyes crushed inward, jaw dislocated and hanging open, limbs twisted at impossible angles. These aren't random injuries, but specific targeting of vulnerable points that maximize both physical damage and psychological terror for anyone who discovers the body. Psychic violence requires simultaneous focus on multiple tasks: immobilizing the target, maintaining concentration, and applying pressure to specific anatomical points. The consistency of the injuries across different victims shows this is intentional and practiced, not accidental. Vecna has perfected the art of psychic murder. The process appears to cause the victim to levitate during the attack, suspended in air while their body contorts. This levitation isn't just dramatic flair, it serves a practical purpose, preventing the victim from using physical leverage or environmental objects to resist the psychic assault. Psychic backlash can affect nearby individuals, as seen when Victor Creel collapses during his family's murder. This indicates that large-scale psychic output destabilizes surrounding minds, creating a field of mental disruption that can incapacitate witnesses or potential rescuers. Emotional triggers are no longer needed for Vecna to kill. While rage may amplify the effect, he can now perform lethal attacks with calm deliberation. This represents a crucial evolution from reactive violence to controlled execution, making him far more dangerous as a strategic threat. Vecna also gains endurance at this level, able to maintain lethal psychic pressure without physical fatigue. The murders can be prolonged, allowing him to savor the victim's fear and pain while ensuring the kill is thorough and complete. Reaching level 5, we face interdimensional survival and power amplification. At this level, Vecna's abilities surpass human limits entirely. His exposure to the Upside Down subjects his body and mind to hostile energies and non-human forces that would destroy any normal person. Surviving this environment changes his biology fundamentally. The transformation makes his blood type unrecognizable and permanently alters his cells. This isn't just adaptation, it's evolution, where human DNA is rewritten by interdimensional forces. His body becomes something between human and alien, capable of existing in environments that would be instantly lethal to normal people. The Upside Down amplifies his powers beyond purely psychic abilities, giving them greater durability, range, and intensity. He can now exist between dimensions, maintaining consciousness and control while his physical form spans multiple realities. This allows him to affect the real world while remaining in the relative safety of the Upside Down. Vecna forms a connection to interdimensional entities like the Mind Flayer, linking him to a larger network of consciousness. This connection boosts his psychic output exponentially, though he retains his individual identity, memories, and intentions. The relationship appears symbiotic rather than controlling, with both entities benefiting from the alliance. His powers are now partially sustained and reinforced by the external interdimensional forces, allowing continued growth beyond natural limits. The Upside Down itself becomes a source of energy, feeding his abilities and providing virtually unlimited power reserves. The physical transformation is horrifying. His skin becomes pale and cracked, muscles are exposed, and his overall appearance shifts from human to something fundamentally other. But these changes aren't just cosmetic. They represent a fundamental alteration in what he is, not just what he looks like. At this stage, Vecna is no longer bound by human biology or psychology. His abilities are fueled and expanded by interdimensional energy, operating under entirely different rules than earthly physics or mental processes. Approaching level 6, we encounter hive mind integration and environmental control. At this stage, Vecna's power shifts from individual attacks to large-scale control. Through his connection to the Mind Flayer, he becomes part of a hive mind system where thoughts, creatures, and environments are linked through shared consciousness. This connection enables Vecna to control creatures native to the Upside Down, including demogorgons, vines, and other organisms. These beings don't act independently. They respond to commands transmitted through the hive mind, allowing Vecna to coordinate attacks across different locations without being physically present. The hive mind also increases Vecna's awareness exponentially. He can perceive events through connected creatures, effectively giving him multiple points of observation simultaneously. This removes the need for direct line of sight or proximity, making him aware of threats and opportunities across vast distances. Vecna's influence extends beyond living creatures to entire environments. The spread of spores and organic decay into Hawkins shows that he can reshape physical space to mirror conditions from his own dimension. This process isn't instantaneous. It functions more like a slow conversion where reality is gradually altered to support his presence and power. The environmental control allows Vecna to create strategic advantages in any location. He can cause electronics to malfunction, alter temperature and lighting, and even manipulate the structural integrity of buildings. These changes serve both tactical and psychological purposes, creating an atmosphere of dread while providing practical benefits in combat. Control at this level is continuous influence rather than absolute dominance. The Mind Flayer appears to guide and amplify Vecna's actions, suggesting a shared command structure rather than simple ownership. Regardless of hierarchy, the result is the same. Vecna operates as the central node of a system that spans dimensions. The hive-mind connection also provides Vecna with vast computational power, allowing him to process information and coordinate complex operations that would be impossible for a single consciousness. This makes him not just powerful, but strategically brilliant on a superhuman scale. Finally, at level 7, we reach physical manifestation in the real world. The final level begins with Vecna manifesting directly in our reality. After suffering injuries in previous battles, he becomes something beyond human recognition, a partially human, partially upside-down creature with cracked, pale skin and one hand transformed into a long, razor-sharp claw. In this ultimate form, Vecna can act physically while retaining full psychic and environmental control. His body is rebuilt using upside-down matter, forming roots, vines, and hardened bark-like skin that makes him nearly indestructible. He combines physical strength with psychic attacks and hive mind control, creating a threat that operates on multiple levels simultaneously. His powers are now fueled by the Upside Down itself, allowing him to manipulate the environment, sense instructions across dimensions, and dominate any creature connected to the hive mind. The distinction between Vecna and his dimension begins to blur. He becomes less of an individual and more of a force of nature. He can enter minds and trap victims in elaborate psychic visions while simultaneously levitating and destroying their bodies from within. Each psychic attack strengthens him further as he absorbs memories and energy from his victims, growing more powerful with every kill. Both the real world and upside-down environments become tools for his power. He can phase between dimensions, manipulate matter at the molecular level, and reshape reality according to his will. Opponents face simultaneous threats, physical attacks, psychic domination, and environmental manipulation all at once. At this stage, Vecna functions as a fully realized interdimensional entity, merging mind, body, and terrain into a single unified threat. He represents the ultimate evolution of psychic power, not just the ability to read minds or move objects, but the capacity to rewrite the fundamental rules of existence itself.